Today we're going to talk about mistakes that 9 out of 10 new videographers make. Welcome back to another episode of the Goldengrade podcast. I'm Joe.
And I'm Michael.
And today we're going to give you a little rundown on mistakes that I've made. I know personally in video you've made, I'm guessing.
Yeah, oh for sure. Lots of these.
So number one at the list, auto ISO.
Oh, we kind of said that in unison, like it.
Harmony.
Yeah, so auto ISO, if you turn on your camera on auto mode, your ISO is going to be adjusting itself. All the other settings are going to be adjusting themselves. And I would say auto white balance too. It just looks really amateur to see those things pop in and out because it's pretty jarring. It's kind of like a click. It looks like a setting has been clicked. So definitely, as soon as you get a grasp of it, go back and listen to episode 1.
Yeah.
As soon as you have a grasp of it, just try to ditch having auto settings, because especially for video, it's really important because it's a continuous experience. You need to make sure that you're
taking 30 photos a second.
Yeah, you're taking 30 photos a second, and watching that, it's really jarring if the settings just keep changing between photos.
Yeah, especially with the outside daylight and everything, you never know. A cloud can cover the sun, and that'll totally change your shot.
And honestly, I'll say, cameras are doing a great job at it recently. But it does look amateur. It doesn't look necessarily terrible, but it looks very amateur. It looks like it was shot on a phone. So
yeah, especially if you're doing shots that are over like 2 minutes.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, the clouds will absolutely cover
and your settings will adjust to fit it, which is fine for like a phone
or a photo.
Yeah, or for if you were taking photos.
I don't mind auto white balance as much on photography.
Maybe not quite as much.
Auto ISO, I think you should have control over your exposure, but other than that.
Yeah.
All right, so number 2, filming at 30 frames per second.
And I feel strongly about this.
Yeah, I know you do. You want to kind of...
Yeah, I mean, so, the default frame rate on the internet is 30 frames a second. I think we're all really familiar with it these days. But it used to be 24 frames a second because of the way cinema cameras work. We're not going to get into that now, but I'll just say... make sure you are filming in a frame rate that is appropriate for the medium you're filming. See a lot of photographers or videographers that are filming for a really cinematic look, and then they publish the video in 60 frames a second, and it looks like it was shot on a GoPro.
Absolutely not. If you're shooting 24 or 25, if you're in Europe, you want that range gives you the most realistic motion blur.
Yeah.
So if you have a lot of subjects that are moving in your video, and you want it to look more cinematic, kind of that who makes the Dark Knight?
Who
is that Michael Bay?
Yeah. Which ones?
The actual Dark Knight.
The originals?
Yeah.
I'm not a.
Well, if you want a more cinematic look, use 24.
Sure. I know Hans Zimmer composes the soundtrack. I can tell you that. Anyways, yeah. So, but if you are shooting an action movie, or like an action shot, like a sports or something, you do want to use 60 frames a second. That's a great application for that. Maybe even higher. You might want that faster shutter speed. You might, that comes with a faster frame rate. So just be mindful of what you're trying to film, and at the very least, export it out in 24 if you're trying to go for a cinematic look or something similar. You need to understand those rules before you break them, for sure.
Absolutely. And number 3, not using an ND filter. I think this is very similar to the ISO situation.
Yes.
You want perfect control over your exposure when you're shooting outside. You don't really need it as much inside, depending on how bright your lights are in the studio. Again, you can adjust it, but having that 4th angle on your exposure square,
turning your triangle into a square.
Yeah, you definitely want that. Outside, it can be very bright, and especially on good quality ND filters, it has polarizers, and that'll stop the sunlight from
glaring
off your stuff. And on top of that, maybe you are looking for that glare. But they have polarizers, ND filter. There's a lot of things you can put on the end of your lens to get the shot that you want. Just make sure your highlights aren't blown out. They are very hard to recover.
Yeah, I mean, especially if you're really getting super into it, like you want to usually have a real nice creamy background that you want that depth of field, and there's really no way to get a good depth of field going and open your aperture wide enough if you don't have an ND. And I think I really do see it as a pretty essential piece of kit. If you have one good lens, I would say immediately turn around and purchase an ND for it if you are planning on filming stuff.
Well, also, if you plan your lenses around your ND filter like good enough, which always plan your ND filter around your lenses, but this just happened to work the way I wanted to, the Canon 70 to 200, the next purchase I'm making. It also, just like the lens I have now, the 24 to 105, both are a 77.
77 millimeter thread.
Yeah, so I can use the same ND filter on both lenses. Most of the RF have way bigger.
You know what though? Well, that's not entirely true. The primes don't. But honestly, like, ND filters aren't that expensive. So
depending on the ND filter.
Well, that's true, but you don't need a $300 ND filter. I've used $40 NDs that are perfectly fine. Absolutely fine. I feel comfortable throwing a $70 ND on a $3,000 lens. I do. So, and there are nicer options for sure, but I mean, they'll get the job done. So there's no excuse.
I mean, if you have a decent one, it's an extra $200 you don't have to spend.
That's true. That's true.
So,
yeah.
All right. Number, what are we, 4?
4, yep.
Not stabilizing your camera properly.
This is such a rookie sort of thing. It's such a pain.
It's not your fault.
No.
I understand the pain, especially if you're shooting with like a Blackmagic or something that doesn't have any in-body stabilization.
Or any stabilization, just full stop, completely unstabilized gear, yeah.
And you can get around some of it in your editing program. They have pretty good stabilization. But sometimes it warps it way more than you'd like it to. But stabilization is key. If you want your shots to look professional, they can't be shaky. And
you might not need it to be perfectly glass smooth, but you need some stabilization.
Yeah, and there's many ways to accomplish this. Stabilizer, you can get, what do you have?
I have a Steadicam and a gimbal, and I like them both for different reasons, but either or is better than no stabilization.
Absolutely, and most of the newer lenses have stabilization built into them too,
that's true.
which also helps. It's just that little cherry on top.
Yeah, nicer lenses always have built-in stabilization.
Not that you need it if you have a gimbal, but it definitely helps a little bit.
But one thing about that is stabilization. Like, gimbals are amazing. There's downsides and upsides. Gimbals and glide cams and steady cams are super useful, but they're also really expensive. And I've been ranting about this for a while. Monopods. You can get a $90 monopod that is really, really useful.
You can get a $30 monopod on Amazon.
Well, that's true, depending on how heavy your camera is.
Yeah, and you don't really. I would say monopod. I would spend more money on a tripod than a monopod.
That's true. That's for sure true. Although I recently filmed a wedding with a really nice monopod with a fluid video head on it, and man, that is an absolute game changer. Absolutely. Yeah. But can I go on my tiny little rant about?
Go for your rant.
Okay, listen. If you do not have anything except for a strap on your camera, there's still a way that you can get better stabilization, and that is simply this: put your strap around your neck, pull it tight against the back of your neck, all the way forward as far as you can, and then take your elbows and shove them down into your stomach and kind of create a triangle of tension between your arms, your strap, and your neck, and that will give you a much better, like, tight control over how stable it is. Mm-hmm. So if you're really struggling to get stable shots, especially, like, that's what I did when I was doing handheld Blackmagic shots a lot, that'll help you get a much more stable shot for no physical stabilization. So anyways.
And honestly, there are so many ways to stabilize a camera that if you don't take advantage of them, it's kind of a waste. Mm-hmm. Yeah, if you have everything right and your stabilization is off, man, it feels bad. It sucks because really sucks. You put all this work into making your exposure perfect. You spend all this money on whatever equipment, gear, and it's just shaky. Yeah. And there's nothing you can do about it other than buying stabilization stuff. Yep. Number 5. This one I don't think we're gonna go in too hard because I want to do an editing do's and don'ts episode. So this one is too many flashy transitions and effects on your editing. Yeah. It's not 2012. You don't need the, what is that called? The dreamy filter on every single shot.
Sure don't.
Yeah, you don't need all the transitions to be different. You don't. Play to your strengths. There's a strength for transitions in every category. If you are using a lot of built-in transitions, there are ways to make it look classy without being trashy.
That's true.
Stay away from the, what is that transition called, where it opens up like a box. There's like a cross and it opens.
Oh, you're talking about like traditional keyed transitions. Yeah. I mean, Like those really crappy wipes. Those
They're-
really
yeah, the
crappy
wipes.
3D, like where it's like on the side of a cube and
Like
it's
the
like
cube
popping
turns,
out.
yeah.
Yeah, no, that's bad stuff.
Stay away from that.
Stay away from the bad transitions. And yeah, like you said, there are good reasons to use a transition, but, and I said this before, every aesthetic choice is a decision, and it should be a decision going towards your narrative. And if there isn't a specific narrative reason to have a fancy transition, you shouldn't have a transition there. You can a hard cut or
Absolutely.
a quick fade, fade to black, or crossfade or cross dissolve is almost always the right call for because it just gets to be too much. Now, if you really want to use a transition to emphasize your transition, maybe it's between two important scenes in an internet video, then that makes sense. But every single cut should not have a transition. I see that a lot.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And unless you're doing a Lego commercial, stay away from that cube transition.
Oh, man.
It's so unnecessary.
Yeah, but seriously though.
Okay.
right.
Number six, no story. This one I definitely don't want to get into because this I want to have like 2 episodes dedicated to. Like
could talk about this
storyboarding. You can talk about it
We
for
could do our entire podcast just about story.
Yeah, so build the story around what you're shooting, whether that's a commercial, whether that's a internet kind of just play around video. Just make sure it has a purpose.
Yeah.
Make sure the shots that you're taking make sense in the video. Don't just throw a nice B-roll shot of a candy cane in a video about Halloween because it looks nice. Make sure you're doing, I mean, again, this is all up to you guys. You can make whatever story you want. I would be selective on the shots you're using.
Yeah, I mean, and even if whether it's photo or video or anything, like I say this all the time, but everything we do is art, even if you don't feel like an artist. And you can make a story out of something that doesn't even seemingly have a story by including elements that allow you to, even just in your edit, even if it's a B-roll montage, if you are editing it in such a way that it feels like you're progressing through a series of clips rather than just seeing random junk thrown at you, like it's a TV demo on the floor of Best Buy.
Yeah.
You know, you can edit things in such a way that lead you from one place to the other, that lead your focus of your eye, and you can create story through that way. So there's really no excuse to not have a story, and that will make every video project you do more engaging.
Absolutely. Number 7, not creating video for your platform.
Oof.
TikTok has its own style. Facebook has its own style. YouTube has its own style.
That's true.
If you want to grow on these platforms, a lot of it is catering to the style you're posting for. So don't post a YouTube video on TikTok and don't post a TikTok video on YouTube. Well, with the exception that YouTube now does shorts.
That's true, yeah. There's a lot more cross-pollination, I guess, before.
Yeah, there's absolutely much more than there used to be, but that's just because everyone's copying TikTok.
That's true.
Everyone has their own TikTok style, but your 1920 by 1080 and your 1080 by 1920 should be slightly different videos. You should make sure you're shooting for the aspect ratio you're going to post for.
Not just in the actual aspect ratio, but you're talking like what we're talking is like making it feel like it belongs on that platform.
Absolutely.
TikTok feels completely different, and you can't just use the same footage for both and just like expect them both to perform at their peak. You kind of need to thoughtfully look at what other people are doing in their space. There are similar spaces. There's science YouTube videos and science TikToks, and they are completely different, and you can make both. You just need to know, do research on the field that you're trying to do it in and try to cater it towards that look.
Understand that like a 10-minute video on TikTok is not going to work.
Well, you can only post up to 3, right?
I know, but you know what I'm saying? It's like people go through TikTok because they have a few minutes to mess around with. They're not going there to watch a feature film.
That's true. Yeah.
All right. So, and then number 8, and enjoy your rant. I'll wait here.
Okay, this is proper audio. That's what number 8 is. And listen, if you guys don't know, I'm an audio engineer. I've been doing this for a lot longer than photo and video. And audio, yesterday we tried to record this podcast and our audio died, and it was the most tragic thing that's ever happened.
What a waste of 3 hours.
But no, yeah, seriously, proper audio, it goes to every single video platform. If you have crappy video but great audio, your video is going to be watchable, but it's going to suck, but it's going to be watchable. If you have great video and unusable audio, you can't watch, the video doesn't work. You have to toss the video out, which is what happened last night. If our video looked really bad, we still would have posted the podcast.
The video looked great.
The video looked great.
The video looked awesome. The audio was horrible.
But the audio was clipping so bad. It wasn't clipping. It was we were having audio driver issues. So long story short, if you are working off your audio from your in-body camera microphone, you need to immediately get a new microphone as soon as you can, as soon as it's reasonable for you. Whether it's a shotgun, whether it's a cheap lav, almost anything is better. Get a decent mic. There's like $30, $40 shotgun mics these days that are really good.
Movo makes one. Yep. They are, I think it's $49.99, and you get the shotgun. It's very similar to the Rode Go 2.
Yeah.
And the Rode Go 2 is like 70 now.
I think is it down to 70?
Yeah, something like that.
It used to be like 80, 90 or whatever. But yeah, I mean, they're all good though.
Yeah, Movo. I would say if you're running gun, Movo or Rode, those are the easiest to kind of like get into.
There's honestly a lot of them now, and anything's gonna be better than nothing. Do a little bit of research, but yeah, I mean, get a lav mic.
They have good. The reason I said Rode and Movo is because they have a lot of customer support, and they've been doing it for long enough.
That's true. Rode is like probably for amateur to like mid-range video, like Rode is probably the company at this point.
Or just buy a Sennheiser.
I mean, if you have like $1 billion,
just buy a bunch of Sennheisers.
I mean, yeah, there's great mics all around. Audio Technica makes great shotgun mics and stuff like that. But even the cheapest like knockoff ones on Amazon are going to be better than nothing a lot of the time. And audio quality is one of the fastest ways that you can upgrade. If you listen to the first episode of this podcast, we were not fully set up yet. And that versus now, I mean, it's night and day.
It's a massive difference. The video, the audio, everything.
But at least we knew at the time that their audio wasn't good.
Yeah, it's a learning experience, and that's one of the reasons we're doing this, is because we're not perfect, and we're trying to teach you some of the mistakes that we made that you might be able to avoid by listening to this podcast every once in a while.
But at the very least, when we did that episode, we were fully aware. Like it's not like we weren't new to it. At least we knew that it was bad.
Yeah, sometimes we post. We have problems, but like we have full-time jobs on top of this and other obligations, so like
just gotta post it.
You gotta post it. And we would hate to do that a lot, but we're gonna do it.
Maybe we'll do an episode on learning to live with imperfection and coping with things that aren't as good as you wish they were. Anyways,
why don't we do an episode in 360p with iPhone mics,
potato
quality audio, and just post it and see if you guys can tell the difference.
How about we not do that? How about we get into questions?
Okay, questions from Reddit user Males LP.
Okay, interesting.
How do you go about finding a mentor?
Okay, what do you think about this? Do you have a mentor?
Kind of you. You taught me a lot about
suppose so, yeah.
Video and audio. I would say I learned a lot of pictures on my own, but
yeah, that's true. That's for
my
sure.
biggest mentor is YouTube Academy. I learned a lot from one of my mentors, Peter McKinnon. I had another mentor, the Corridor Crew.
Yeah.
They also taught me a lot.
No, for real though, you can learn a lot on YouTube.
You can learn so much on YouTube. Finding a mentor, as you said in the unreleased episode, that audio was crap.
Yeah.
You can find a mentor at your university, at your church. Honestly, it doesn't even have to be in video and audio.
Yeah.
Just having a mentor to guide you through, like,
good point,
being a better person, like even social skills for this kind of industry.
Yeah.
Just learning how to communicate with clients is huge.
Yeah, seriously. And like it's just having somebody who has been around for a while in sort of media production, regardless of what it is, or just like in general, like to give you feedback on what you're doing, how you're doing, and just as a professional, super duper big. And like you said it, and I'll say it again real quick too, like there's a lot of untapped resources around. You might not realize it. Every university ever has at least one media guy. Most churches that are reasonably modern have one person who knows at least a little bit about video, audio, photo. Especially larger churches. You have your local your local newspapers or magazines. Almost always have a veteran who's just been around for a couple 100 years, and
100 years.
These people are, as in my experience, almost universally awesome people who would love to give you some information, love to get in, let you in on some information, and you could always volunteer with a local wedding photographer or something like that.
Yeah, so a lot of photographers, videographers in this industry, they are more than happy to share what they do.
That's true.
They love talking about themselves,
and not
right now, and not just because like
we're all vain.
Yeah, but it's so fun meeting new people and learning their experiences, because you really do capture another person's life.
Yeah.
Like, even weddings, like, you made their moment. They will have that video, those pictures for the rest of their lives.
Yeah.
And just making those kind of connections is great.
It's good industry.
All right, so number 2 on the questions from No More Pot Stickers.
No more pot stickers. Okay.
So no more pot stickers.
Okay.
Are there any good editing monitors for under $400 for Black Friday coming up? Yes. BenQ is doing a early Black Friday sale, and they have very good color accurate monitors. They have 27 inches for like $300. You don't even need $400. Even at Walmart, you can get a decent gaming monitor.
Yeah.
That has solid colors for $200 on Black Friday. Black Friday is the time to buy anything with a screen.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that really is true. I would just say anything, regardless of what you're looking at, BenQ has some great monitors, and just in general, gaming monitors are pretty good for creators. The 2 things you want to look for is the nits and the color rendering index. So nits is how bright it's going to be, and its color spectrum is how many colors it can display. Most devices just try to display sRGB, and like, so your phones or whatever, just look for one that says it covers up to or close to 100% sRGB colors, and like at least 250 nits. If not, it's going to be too dark and it's just going to be hard to see, especially if you're in bright daylight. But other than that, like, there's a lot of good monitors. And the BenQ ones, like I've had a couple of BenQ monitors and related company monitors. Yeah, and they might not be as inky black and stuff like that as an OLED panel, but I mean, for cheap, you can get some good monitors for cheap, and that is great for editing. It really helps if you don't know and you're editing on a crappy monitor and you never even thought about that. You're gonna be like blown away when you realize that colors can look so much better than they do.
Yeah, the more vibrant saturation.
Yeah.
You don't even know what your photos look like.
Yeah, seriously.
Technically, and if you have a bad monitor and you're editing. All right, so is that all the questions?
Yeah.
No. Photography backpack recommendations from Jobless and Suicidal.
No, it's Jobless and Suicidal. There's no D.
Oh.
Jobless and suicidal.
So he's not teetering on the edge of death.
Hopefully not.
Hopefully not. Backpack recommendations. You have a more classy, I'm going to backpack over Europe backpack kind of thing. And I have a more modern kind of style. Am I wrong?
I would go backpacking over Europe with my backpack.
Yeah. And so you have the Adventurer's Kit, and I have...
You have it with you? Oh. Look at this, guys. We have a visual.
All my stuff's falling out of my bag because I left it open. So this is my bag. It is a ProMaster, and it has space for everything you could possibly need. And it has 14,000 pockets. It's got a laptop pocket. I think it was $150.
Yeah, I mean, when you're looking for a bag, regardless of what style you have, like mine's like kind of knapsack, sort of fold over top style. It has like a little latch. It's really cute. It's a little bit less practical than that. But whatever you use, laptop pocket. I can't believe there are bags that don't have laptop pockets anymore.
Oh, at least photography backpacks.
Yeah, seriously, it's ridiculous. And it said to look for that and as many pockets as you can possibly get. I think you said yesterday to get a bag that is larger than you need because you can grow into it, and then if you want to get a smaller one, you can go ahead and get another small one, which I think we've both done.
Yeah.
But start out with a big one. That's my main recommendation for backpacks. Start out with a bigger backpack that you can put another camera in or a few more lenses in and all your other crap you're going to need, and then you can go ahead and get a smaller one eventually when you're ready. So.
Yeah. And backpacks have a different variety of uses depending on what you have.
Yep.
Like, you don't need a huge backpack if you plan on only carrying one lens.
Yeah.
Lenses are really going to take up the most of your backpack space.
Yep.
All right.
Okay.
And so on to the news section. Dun, 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 dun. So for news, we have the Fujifilm X-H2. It is a newer camera.
Yes.
And it is fan-tiddly-tastic. Fun-tiddly-tastic.
I don't know how I feel about the way you said that, but okay. Anyway.
40 megapixels, backlit illuminated CMOS sensor. It's got a X processor 5, which I have no idea what that means. I'm guessing it's similar to the Digic 10.
Yeah. Something similar. I don't know.
It has
I'm not very
15
familiar.
frames per second continuous burst using mechanical and 20 on electronic.
Yes.
It has 5-axis in-body stabilization. It shoots in various Apple formats for all you Apple fanboys.
All the ProRes.
ProRes and HEIF, which HEIF format.
Okay.
It shoots at 8K with at 30 with a internal Apple ProRes video in 422 10-bit color.
Oh my gosh, we're gonna get back to that. I feel really strongly about that.
And
That's
then
really
a 12-bit 8K at 30p RAW with an external recorder. Wow, I just totally butchered that whole thing.
It's okay, we can go back over it. But I just want to briefly mention this is an upgrade to the Fujifilm X-H2, which is a much cheaper camera. It's really a mid-range. It's like I don't know, it's like kind of a
It's like an R.
RP even.
RP.
It was like it's like probably you get one for $800 when it was new. Anyways, this is like doubling the sensor size, the capabilities of video recording. It's really it wasn't like not capable, the X-H1, but this one really is pushing it to a level that is comparable to the R6, which is super cool to see. I am not super familiar with Fujifilm's cameras personally, but yeah, I mean, what was that again? It was go back up here. This 8K 30p video, 422 10-bit. If you don't know what that means that this color is gonna be really good for raw video. It's not raw, but it's a lot less compressed than your normal like MP4.
I wonder if they shoot an F-Log. F-Log.
Yeah, it's F-Log. So F-Log 2, and then 13 stops at dynamic range. That's really high. If you don't know, this is going to be a very good. It's looking like it's going to be a very good sort of video camera. That's going to be on par with your R6, with your
6K Pocket Cinemas.
No, maybe not a Pocket 6K Pro. That does a different thing, honestly.
Does this one shoot raw, or is it only log?
No, it's not raw. It's log. Log is a little bit.
Because I know the Mark II shoots raw with an external.
You think the Canon R6 Mark II shoots RAW?
With an external.
Really? Interesting. Well, my Canon R only shoots 8-bit 422 in 4K at 24. This shoots 8K 422 10-bit at 30 frames a second. So
it's really good.
Incredible. And yeah, the sensor size is huge. I like to see this. I like to see more cameras coming out that are competing with the sort of space. I just like to see it. It's really cool.
Yeah.
And I hope that we see we've seen a lot of cameras kind of manufacturers step into this space recently. I'm very excited about it.
I like the word hybrid.
Hybrid? What do you mean?
It excites me.
Oh, haha! With all these cameras.
The no recording limit. That.
Yeah, the R6 is still looking to be my favorite, and I'm definitely we are absolutely biased towards Canon. We should say that now, like in a completely unfair way.
Yeah, but we like Sony for reasons.
Yeah, that's true.
So we talk good about other cameras. We just like our Canons.
I think you are way more of a Canon fanboy than I am, for sure.
Oh, 100%. I lean into it.
Yeah, I don't lean into it. I prefer to be pretty broad, but yeah, no, it's super cool. I'm really excited to see this. I hope that I get to use one day. It's going to be expensive.
Yeah. So, final segment. Would you rather?
Would I rather?
Would you rather always shoot with a 4-second self-timer or always shoot in 10-shot burst?
I hate this question.
That's a very interesting question.
I really hate this question.
So, what is your choice?
So I have to wait 4 seconds for every single photo.
Yes.
Or I have to delete 9 photos for every one photo I want to take.
Yes. Which, may I argue, that sports photographers do this anyway.
That's true. And honestly, I'm an overshooter already. I probably do throw away 6 out of 7 photos.
How many photos did you shoot at that wedding?
I took a wedding the other day. I think I mentioned it, 15,000 photos. Now I'm down to 4,000 now. Which is a reasonable amount to come away from.
So let's say, okay, let me ask you a question. So that means you were shooting over 1,000 photos an hour.
Yes.
That's a lot of photos.
I was shooting so many photos.
That's so many.
I filled
photos.
up many SD cards.
Oof. So what is your choice? I personally,
what are you gonna do?
I'm absolutely gonna do 10-second bursts. There's just so many reasons to have I don't know. I just can't do the 4-second timer. You're gonna miss the first kiss of a wedding.
I was gonna say for personal use, I do the 4-second timer, just because I don't want to have that many photos to sort through. But yeah, for professional use, there's no way I can justify it. It would suck and it would add hours to my workflow. But I gotta do the 10-second. Now, if you said 20 photos, like every time you take one photo, you have to take 20. I would choose 4 seconds.
right.
That's just too many. That's just insane. That would ruin my life.
Well, all right. Well, I think I have my answer.
Yeah, I think
you
I
have
do.
your answer.
Yeah, unfortunately.
What is your answer?
I'm gonna do the 10 photo burst.
10 photo burst.
Yeah,
so
that
we're on the
sucks.
same page.
That's a terrible. You need to start giving me good questions where I'd be happy with either outcome.
No,
because these are like life.
No, these
questions.
are like misery questions.
Yeah, you're trying to make me miserable.
Well, I'll try to give you a happy question next week.
All right, well, I'll hold you to that.
Okay.
All right.
Well, thank you guys so much for joining us for this episode. You can catch us on TikTok, YouTube, Facebook, Spotify, Apple Music,
all of the podcatchers, really.
Stitcher, Podsaver,
Podserve.
Podserve.
No, Podserve. Not Podserve. That's a distributor.
There's so many pods.
Anyways.
But thank you guys so much for joining us. If you guys have questions, leave them on any of our social medias. We love to answer your questions.
Absolutely. Drop us a Facebook. Leave it on TikTok. We'd love to answer your questions. And yeah, give us a rating too if you are enjoying the podcast. If you want to rate us on Apple Music, that's how Apple Music actually, not even by hours listened. Apple Music goes by ratings to promote it to people. So if you are enjoying the podcast, if you're finding it useful and finding it fun, if you would drop us a rating, we'd really appreciate that.
Absolutely. And what we are also doing a charity thing.
Oh, yeah.
Every week we're going to mention a charity that if you guys want to, you can donate. We're going to give like a brief overview. That's going to start next week. Yep. But we're going to give a brief overview of a charity that we pick or you guys mention and we look up and just kind of ask you guys, hey, not to give us money, but give them money. Yep. They need it more than us.
That's true.
So just trying to help people out.
Yeah, love that.
All right. So guys, have a good night and catch you next week.
All right, see you guys.